Hey, everybody, this is Kevin, a CPA that does financial planning. Today, we're going to talk about the biggest lie in investing, and we're also going to talk about deep risk. If you want something to be fearful of, we have something to be fearful of, but it's not what you think. So, I'll first tell you that William Bernstein is one of my intellectual heroes when it comes to investing. He was a neurologist, switched over to author eventually, and looks at things in a scientific method somewhat. So, William Bernstein, if you've never heard of him, he doesn't go after clicks. He's not on TikTok. He is an older, balding, graying, chubby guy, and maybe that's why he's one of my heroes. So anyway, the biggest lie in investing is that the short term matters, and really, to be specific, ultra short term. So right now, stock market is down 20% in the U.S. Here's a chart of the S&P 500 this year. So we started, I don't know, somewhere around here, 1231. We started at 4778. The news media, all informational sources, for the most part, not all, but many, say that this is a disaster and that you should be very afraid of this. You should be very upset right now. As a matter of fact, CNBC, they don't even show deep risk in their charts. So year to date, S&P 500 is down 2115 as of 9/23/2022, and this is supposed to severely frighten us. And it does frighten me a little bit. I'm not going to lie. I mean, the sympathetic nervous system activates whenever we have things that we think we should be fearful of. But in the book, and I very much recommend you get this book. It's $4.95. It's an ebook. You can read it on your computer, your iPad. You could even read it on your phone because they have the little Kindle app that you can read it on. So bottom line is that we are worried very much about these short-term risks. Bottom line is we should be worried about long-term issues in markets with inflation, excess withdrawal rates, taxes and governments confiscating money, not to get political here. But those are the things that William Bernstein says, those are really the things to be scared of. And so for the rest of the video, I'm going to go through what these legitimate fears are in our minds and the reasons why the short-term market movements, which are called shallow risks. I really love the way William Bernstein discusses these things. You know, shallow risks is when the market goes down 21% and you say, oh my goodness, my money is gone. 21% of my money is gone. Well, I'll just remind you that in 2020, 33% of your money was gone during 2020. And was that something that ruined a retirement plan? Not really. You see, the worst time period to retire in American history is somewhere around the 1965, 1966 time period. I always say 1966 because that's when I was born. But this was the worst period to retire in. Why was that? Well, we had inflation in the 70s. We had long-term stock returns that were negative, not short-term, long-term. So these are really the things that we should be fearful of. And so that does kind of change how we set up portfolios and retirement plans, especially if you're going to retire. I think the last number of years, if you retired in 2019, I think these have been some of the toughest years to retire in. Now, I don't know for sure that's going to be the case because we have to wait and see what is the decade of the 2020s as far as investment experience, as far as inflation. Yes, inflation is rocking right now, but the Fed is raising rates really harshly, I would say harshly, and so they might get this inflation under control. And Jason Reagan wrote a piece, I don't know if it's been put out yet, but that what the Fed is doing is actually an extreme positive. Because if inflation, again, is a shallow episode here and we have massive inflation for a short period of time, the duration matters, the time period matters, then inflation will not really harm retirees. But inflation massively harms retirees if it's long term. Again, William Bernstein, he's even given books away. One of the books he gave away, if you can, to young people which I used in a financial class as well as I use with young people, because it's terrific. So I'm going to state his ideas here. They're called the Cliff Notes version, and really his mission, his life mission to me, he does now work with an investment company, but his life mission is a lot like ours, and that's to help people regardless of if you use our services or not. So here are the deep risks that we should really be concerned about. Catastrophic personal loss of capital. Okay, so catastrophic means death or disability. If you get sued and you lose all your money, and there are solutions for this. There's things that we can do. We sometimes worry about the wrong things. We worry about sharks when we should be worried about sun exposure. So loss of investment discipline. This is something that I think is the greatest value of a financial advisor if they believe in long-term risk. So loss of investment discipline means that you just sell out. You say, all right, no mas, I'm done. And you sell out. And in the book, he talks about someone who sells out in 2009 and comes back in 2013. And I'm going to make up a number, but it's like 127% loss of the increase in the stock market. So you lost out on the increase of the stock market between 2009 and 2013 because you were trying to time the market, or you wanted to stop the pain, or you were just scared. So the solution here is asset allocation appropriate to the risk tolerance. That's what we always say to clients is, don't take on more risk than you can stand when it's at the worst, when it's at the absolute possible worst time period. And the other thing is in retirement, you can actually increase your risk tolerance as you get older. And, you know, even with young people, sometimes they say, hey, 25-year-old, 100% equity, you're young. Well, if the 25-year-old becomes 28, loses their job, and the market is down 50%, they lose their job and they take all the money out, and they end up losing 30 or 40% of their money, they're scarred. And so I sometimes believe it's okay to go with a lower allocation for young people. It depends, though. And then the knowledge of market history. The 4 pillars of investing from William Bernstein really goes over what he believes are the 4 things to know. One of them is market history. So C here is the permanent loss of capital. And this is what I'm saying. Severe, prolonged. The word of the 90s, I think, was persistent and pervasive. People used to say that all the time. But persistent and pervasive inflation, hyperinflation, it wrecks everything. So if this inflation is at 8% for the next 10 years, a lot of retirees, this is something to worry about. And I think the Fed is going after this inflation. Now we've learned in finance class that gold bullion is a potential inflation hedge. And this year it was doing great for a while and it's crashed. Inflation protected securities and annuities. The best inflation protection vehicle, I think, right now, other than I-bonds, is Social Security and delaying it until you're 70. The longer you delay it, then you get a higher amount to start with. You get inflation adjusted. Now, is the inflation adjustment perfect? No, but you get an inflation adjustment every year. So delaying Social Security, if you want a strategy, that's one of the best strategies. Now, again, stocks are supposed to be good against inflation over longer periods of time. I agree with that. I think that's true. Not that you need me to agree with it. Who am I? But in short periods of time, stock markets can crash. But again, we're talking about deep risk here. Severe prolonged deflation, the opposite of inflation. And now the reason why they're bad for stocks is if prices continue to fall, everybody says, I'm not going to buy today. I'm going to wait till tomorrow or maybe next week. Prices will be even lower. And economic activity just goes way down. And that's not good for anything. Number 3 is confiscation. So if you're investing in Russia in the U.S. stock market and then February of this year happens, basically the market goes away. So Russia's actually listed, but they're more talking about if a new government comes in and just steals your money. So we believe in asset allocation across all countries because that will help limit the risk there. And then devastation, geopolitical disasters, wars, other things. And again, the way to go with this is to diversify. So So this is the Cliff Notes. I highly recommend you buy this book and read this book. And at least when markets go down 20, 21%, at least when, everybody is telling you, oh my gosh, things are really bad. This to me is not something, this is the wrong thing to worry about in investing, okay? And worrying about the short term in investing is, I could give you 15 different analogies, but worrying about the short term in investing is just not, it's not healthy for us, number one. And number two, it's not really the thing that ruins financial plans. If the stock market stays down for 10 years, absolutely, that scares me. So anyway, I hope everyone is doing well. If you have any questions or thoughts, if you have any comments about some of these ideas that William Bernstein has, please put them in the comment section. And thank you so much for watching. Everybody have a great day.